So in a typical Matt's moment, I sort of decided I wanted to build a more cinema-like camera. It's probably not something I need. The type of videos that I've been making and what I want to make, more travel type stuff, is probably more suited to a more compact mirrorless type system like I built up with my my Panasonic S5 IIX. But because I work teaching photography and video, I sort of want to muck around and learn and try and do a few things. So what I did is I managed to find a Panasonic BS1H, a box camera that actually takes the same lenses that I use on my S5 IIX, and had a rummage around through the spare parts bin, found some old stuff, borrowed some stuff from school, and decided to try to build up a cinema rig from a box camera. I managed to find this brand new but second hand. It was an unopened package, so it was quite a good deal. It's a great camera. It's actually Netflix approved. Not that that's going to make much difference. I don't see myself making a Netflix movie at the moment. We'll see what happens next year. And it's great that it takes the same accessories that a lot of the same accessories at least, that I already have for my Panasonic system. It is a full frame sensor, so it's absolutely great, high quality. As I said, I had to buy one or two things, and then I had to rummage through the spare parts bin. So here we go. I've got myself a cup of coffee. Probably shouldn't be drinking coffee and playing around with electronics at the same time, but whatever. And we're going to see if I can put this together into some sort of cinema rig. I didn't originally intend to put a cage on it, because one of the really interesting things with this box body are the large number of mounting points that exist on the body anyway. But in the end, I did end up getting a Nitsy cage. Doesn't add a lot to the size of the body. Adds even more mounting points, and what it also does, it gives two NATO rails on the side, something that I really wanted to have. So I'm going to start by mounting this. It's quite easy. It's got 4 mounting screws, so it's actually a very solid mounting. I'm going to just pop these in. So here we go. It's a solid cage. I can actually remove parts of it, the top half, if I want to. It's all bolted together. But as I said, I wanted the NATO rails on the side, so I'll leave that on there. I'm just going to tighten that up. With that done, I have even more mounting points, and I can basically mount whatever I want to this rig now. Being a more cinema type rig, I definitely wanted to put rods on it to be able to mount everything from a matte box to a follow focus and other accessories as well. And so I have this small rig rod holder with a couple of shorter rods. So I'm going to mount that on there on the bottom. I didn't want to make this quick release, so I'm going to have this more or less on there all the time, so I will just bolt it on. I can just find the mount points. Okay, make sure that's square. Tighten that up. There you go. One camera, rods, plenty of mounting points. Naturally, this sort of camera is going to be used a lot on a tripod, so I am going to mount a tripod plate on the bottom. It's going to be there all the time. Also gives it a steady base to stand on when you're just placing it somewhere, so it serves a double function. And also I don't have to mount different mounting plates when I want to. I can just put this on straight away. Yeah. Tighten those up. Okay. Then we naturally need a lens. I could put my Panasonic L-mount lenses on here. Would give me rudimentary autofocus. This only has the old contrast detect autofocus system from Panasonic. So I know it works for some things, but for a lot of things it's nowhere near as good as the new cameras with the face detect autofocus. But this camera, I'm always intending to use it behind the camera rather than being in front of the camera. And in that sort of situation, I generally prefer to use manual focus anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up for use with manual focus EF lenses. And I just happen to have from my other camera an L mount to EF adapter. When I mounted this on, when I bought this system, it actually came with a little adapter that's meant to be used when you were using some sort of adapter to support it. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit this Sigma L mount to EF adapter. I think it's made a micro 4/3 adapter, a Metabones or something like that. So I will eventually try to make some sort of bracket myself so that I can actually support this a little bit. This adapter is very good. There is not a lot of play in it, but I want to make sure that there is no play at all. So I will be making an adapter for that later on. Then we can pop on a lens, and I just happen to have a Samyang EF lens here. Here we go. Take that off. And we have a basic camera. One of the things with these box cameras is, especially with this BS1H, it doesn't have any screen at all. I can control it through USB on a computer or on a laptop or something like that, and that works really, really well. But to be able to see the menus and to control the camera by itself, I basically need a screen. What I'm going to do is I am going to attach a screen to it, and what I'm going to use to attach the screen to is this top handle that fits on here with the locating pin so it doesn't rotate. I can just find the right place for it. There we go. And then I'm going to use this Feel World 7-inch monitor. The reason I chose this because it's light and reasonably cheap, but the most important thing for me with this was that it is bright. It's supposedly 2200 nits in brightness, and I actually have a problem in daylight with most other screens. Anything below 1000 nits I find washes out in the sunlight very, very quickly. So I wanted to make sure I got something that was very bright. This cannot record or do anything, but it has a lot of little things you can do with it. So like as with more or less any modern monitor, we're going to put this on a small rig mount that fits into a cold shoe. And then I'm going to put this on the cold shoe here. And that gives me I have to tighten that up. I've got the right size. I hope I have the right size Allen key now. I can just tighten up these friction mount so that I can adjust this to the angle that I want and it doesn't flop around. So there we go. At the moment, I'm powering this monitor with a Sony battery. It does have a 12 volt in from the side, so depending on how I choose to power the rest of the camera, I can actually power it from a V-mount battery or something like that, rather than from the battery here. I'm going to leave that powered as it is at the moment. So I now need a HDMI cable to connect the monitor to the camera, and I have this cable. which goes in here, and then goes up to the monitor. And make sure I connect it to the HDMI in cable. Okay. This is very close to the basic sort of run and gun scenario I see myself using this in. The one thing that I might add is a follow focus. And then with this sort of scenario, I can walk around, pull focus. Not a great fan of this follow focus. I probably just do it by hand, but I have the option to put that on and use that if I want. I'm actually going to take that off for now. The problem at the moment here with this rig, as you might be able to see, is that I don't have a battery. There's a reason for that. Panasonic has a special battery for these. Good battery, it lasts a long time. And I ordered one, and I managed naturally to order the wrong one. So I don't have one that fits at the moment. So with another battery on there, this would probably be my run and gun setup with ND filters on the front, and I would most probably pull focus manually like this rather than have the follow focus. I might have the follow focus. I'm just going to have to try the different options to see which one I like the best. But that's the basic run and gun, and it would work great if I had a battery. I'm actually recording to SD cards, dual SD card slots. I can record really high quality internally to this. If I was to put my Ninja 5 monitor on here instead, I could actually record RAW or ProRes if I wanted to. But for the moment, I'm quite happy to record H.265 internally. It's 4 to 10-bit, quite high quality. And all I really want the screen for is to be able to see what's happening. And I wanted a bright one, as I said. So I can't really do much more here now without getting a power source. If I am going to mount it on a tripod, I would probably add a V-mount battery to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got these rod extensions, and with those in place, I can put my V-mount holder on. Something like that. And I can now use a power cord, something like this, which is a 12 volt to 12 volt input for the camera. I'm going to plug this into the camera, select most of the odds and ends. I would, if I was to make this a little bit permanent, I would probably arrange these cables a little bit neater and tie them down properly. Still just experimenting with what the rigging is going to be like, so I'm going to leave it like this for the time being. I now have 12 volt power to the camera. If I have a battery, of course, I have to put the battery on as well. And this V-mount adapter has a lot of output, so I can power a lot of other stuff. I can power the monitor, I could power a follow focus unit, I could power a wireless transmitter, so I can get a lot of power out of this adapter. And with this V-mount battery, it's going to last a long, long time. This is probably very close to what would be my preferred tripod rig. The one thing that I would sometimes add, depending on the situation, is a matte box. In a controlled situation, we have plenty of time to work. One of these big matte boxes with fittings for ND filters and everything is quite handy. They're a bit clumsy for run and gun stuff, but for this sort of stuff, something like that. And I have what's probably a pretty professional looking cinema camera Netflix approved, as I said, and a good monitor, and this will be able to record for more or less half a day, a full day on this one battery. I've got an additional battery I could throw on. And I've got a professional mat box with all the different fittings, all the different barn doors I can put on that I might need for different situations. And pretty much a nice little rig that I can do whatever I like with. As I said, I probably won't use this that much, or most of the filming I do is probably not sort of this sort of static stuff. I want to move around a bit. So I actually probably want to turn this into a shoulder rig camera so I can run it on, walk around with it a little bit more. But I want it to be able to be transformed from this cinema type rig for a tripod to a shoulder rig very, very quickly. And I want to be able to move between the two very quickly as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the mat box. I would normally prefer a smaller mat box, like a small rig or a tilt, to have like a mini type mat box rather than this. But this is just what I happen to have at the moment. And to turn this into a shoulder rig, what I need are a couple of components. I want to have it on the shoulder, and I want to have the handles down here. So I'm actually going to mount a couple of rods on this little angle adapter. And I'm going to I'm probably going to need, I'm not sure what sort of rigging we're going to need at the moment, so I'm going to try a few different things. That's going to go on there, and on the front we are going to have our handles. But I also want to be able to move the monitor down here so I can see that. So I have a monitor mount that I'm going to move down here. Then I'm going to put this on the front, the handles on the front, like that. And on the back of the camera, I'm going to put my shoulder plates. And connect that up to the front. I can adjust that depending on what lens and what follow focus and what matte box I'm using. I would probably need to adjust this a little bit to fit the perfect configuration. But there I have my shoulder rig. Quite quick to take off these two parts to turn it back into more tripod type rig. But I have access to the Manfrotto plate here, so I can actually put the whole rig on the tripod without taking those parts off, then pull it off and put it on my shoulder straight away, nice and quickly. As you can see, the monitor's not doing much good where it is at the moment, so I actually need to move that down onto this monitor mount. I'm going to move this forward a little bit. Felt a little bit tight when I put it up on my shoulder. Naturally, depending on what lens I have to, if I have a really wide angle lens, I can't stick this out too far because we'll see it in shot. But something like that. Then I'm going to I would probably in the future try to have a quick release between these two. I need to angle it slightly so I can see it quite well. And I'm actually going to start turning things on. As I said, with the V-mount adapter on, I could run a power cable to the monitor. I just don't have one that's quite, oh, maybe that's long enough. A little bit borderline. I need a power cable that's just slightly longer than that. That way I would save the weight, the battery and save having to worry about that battery as well. Now I can mount it on my shoulder, and I actually have a very, very good view of what's happening, and I can pull focus with either side, depending on which I feel more comfortable with. I can reasonably see, and I have most of the weight on my shoulder, and I can move reasonably smoothly. It's actually quite a comfortable shoulder rig, and hopefully, I haven't really used this monitor that much yet, but I am very, very hopeful that it's going to be a great monitor to be able to use in bright light. So I'll have to see what happens. I managed to borrow from school a Nucleus N follow focus kit. Very much because I just wanted to try it. And it has a follow focus motor. It's difficult to get out of the casing. Like this, follow focus motor that I can mount here and use to power this rig. And I should have some. I found the power cable, plugged it into the V-mount battery, and I'm going to plug this into the. I need to mount that on there. I should really have done that before I put all this together. So I have to take this apart. Be careful not to wreck too much. And now I can attach this in the right position to get the follow focus to work. It's on, it should be the right channel for this sender unit. And I will turn the unit on. And then I will press and hold for it to do an automatic calibration, hopefully, yes. Calibrating. And we're ready to go. The beauty of this is that I can place this handle in a more comfortable position. But I now have a shoulder kit that I can put on my shoulder. I can move this arm to a more comfortable place to pull focus. I could probably actually create a mount to have it down here if I wanted to. And I can very, very quickly put this onto a tripod, use it so as it is, or take away the shoulder mount and the offset kit and put the monitor up here and just use it as a cinema camera. I've got a big matte box I can put on. Normally, I probably wouldn't use the matte box with the stuff that I do, but on a tripod, I would definitely put it on and use the barn doors and everything to shade it properly. And then I can use the ND filters that fit the matte box, the square ones. Or if I have it like this, I have a variable ND filter I can screw on the front of the lens. So all I really need to do now is go out, try it, see how it works. It's actually one thing that I haven't fitted yet that I can see here. I'll show you that very, very quickly. I actually have one of the reasons I wanted the cage on was because of the NATO rails, because I have a couple of NATO rail handles, and what I can do is very, very quickly mount a NATO rail handle on the side, especially with that earlier run and gun configuration when I'm not using the V-mount battery, when I'm using the ordinary Panasonic battery that I haven't received yet because I ordered the wrong one. I would probably use this handle, which will make it a much smaller kit to use. But that's it. A pretty professional looking cinema rig with a Netflix approved full frame camera, power to last all day, a monitor that'll work in daylight, wireless follow focus. I can take this and use it on a separate monitor with one of my Hollyland wireless senders. I could put, which I again can power from the V-mount kit, and I could actually have a focus puller, full focus, with a separate monitor somewhere else. Pretty flexible kit, fits all my V-mount batteries, fits all my L-mount lenses, and I also have the option of putting any range of EF lenses I can borrow on here. And I would probably, as I said before, use this in a manual focus configuration, so the EF lenses will probably be what I'll be trying most. So that's it. What do you think? I don't think it's the sort of kit I'm going to have put on the back of my bike when I do any part of the European Divide bikepacking trail, but it's an interesting kit to experiment with and work with, and see if I can learn even more about filmmaking.